Hello and welcome to 10 Minute Takes. This is not a review, but a beautiful boy discussion. Here at 10 Minute Takes, what we like to do is that we like to give a recommendation first, and then from that recommendation, we have a discussion that stems from what we recommend. I don't know what Sam's going to say. She doesn't know what I'm going to say. And then, as always, while we're doing the discussion, joining in on the talk with us. Comment below. Let us know what you thought of the film, if you've seen the film. If you haven't seen the film, are you excited to see it? So with that said, Sam, are you ready to give our recommendation?
I am ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Wait for it.
I thought you were going to say that. What did you guys think? If you saw it, comment below. And with that said, let's just get into it.
Let's get started.
So A Beautiful Boy is an adaptation of two memoirs written by a father and son. Each one of them wrote their own memoir, David and Nick Sheff. And the memoirs chronicle the teenage son's battles with drug addiction, obviously when he was a teenager. And that is the film. The film is about the son's battle with drug addiction. Now, even though we gave it a wait for it, meaning matinee of sorts, this film does have some really good aspects, some things that I really did like. And let's just start with the things that we did like. And for me, I mean, the standout was the acting. I thought the acting, for the most part, was really good.
Mm-hmm. My favorite person in the film, character in the film, was actually Nick's friend that he befriends later on in the film. She is a person who is also in the show Last Man Standing. She's one of the daughters. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but since I've only seen her in the sitcom atmosphere, seeing her in a drama like this, I really realized how good of an actress this girl was. And she was actually one of my favorite characters because you really could feel her addiction and what she was going through. And I appreciated that.
I really liked Timothée Chalamet in this. He's an up-and-comer. You saw him last year in Lady Bird and Call Me By Your Name. He was actually nominated for an Oscar last year, or really this year, if you want to say it's this year's Oscars. He's super talented. He's really good as Nicholas Sheff in this film. Mm-hmm. And like you said, same thing like with the girl, you can really feel the pain that he goes through. He really emulates the drug addiction. He really makes you feel what he's going through. It's a really standout performance. One of the other things that I really liked about the film is that I like how it cuts back and forth between David and Nick when Nick is a teenager, and David and Nick when Nick is a child. Essentially, he's a kid. And I thought it was beautifully done when they were going back and forth, intercutting, using sort of like the dialogue that interconnects those scenes. That gets us from Nick as a teenager to Nick as a child.
You see that relationship build, and the relationship that the father and son had that was starting to demolish when he started to get into his addiction. And I think that's what was so important about exactly what you're talking about, is that you really felt for this dad who loved his son and who admired his son, and having to watch his son go through this was so hard and heartbreaking because of those flashbacks. You really got to see and feel his pain.
Yeah, and Steve Carell was really good in this. He's starting to transition to a dramatic actor, and I actually like a lot of the stuff that he's starting to do recently with the more dramatic side. There's just a few points when he kind of gets, when his character gets angry, he kind of goes to, I mean, I hate to say it, he kind of goes to like his Office character kind of vibe, and it didn't always come through the screen the way I think they intended it to.
I don't think that we're the only ones that felt that way, because in these moments, a lot of the people in the audience were laughing at these moments where I was like, this isn't funny. Yeah, but it was so Steve Carell that it was funny. Like just his demeanor, I think. It was just his demeanor where there was a meme that was stuck in my head where it was like, no.
Yeah.
That meme was what I thought about when he was doing this, when he was so upset and you were watching him be upset. Yeah. That was like a meme that kept popping in my head. Yeah. And then I started laughing too.
So like one scene in particular is when the kid steals, or at least we don't know if the son stole from his younger brother, but there's a scene where the younger brother is missing $8 and Steve Carell is yelling at Nick, and he's like, did you steal $8 from your younger brother to go get high?
Well, like, it was funny. Okay, so sorry, I'm sorry I interrupted. The issue wasn't the amount of money. If the amount of money that he had stolen was like $50, $25, it would have been like, "Aw, man, kid, you messed up." But the fact that it was $8.
Yeah, and just the way it came off, that was like one of the
weird.
moments where the audience actually laughed at that scene. And then because they started laughing, it kind of like made me chuckle a little bit. And I felt bad about it because I knew I wasn't supposed to be laughing at that scene. It's not supposed to be a funny scene.
No.
Because Nicholas is going through, he's relapsing, essentially. And it's actually a sad scene. But unfortunately, that kind of stuff happens periodically throughout. And while the film does have good aspects, there are far too many things that bothered me technically about this film outside of the content. Content of the film I had no problem with. It's really the execution of some of the content that rubbed me the wrong way, is why I couldn't gel with the film 100%. And one of those things is that the film I felt like is inconsistent from scene to scene. And there's probably a good 40-minute block where every other scene feels like it could go into a completely different film or completely different genre. So there's one where it's a family drama. There's one where it's a medical documentary. There's another one where it's a self-reflection of someone trying to understand someone else's addiction beyond family drama. And part of what you get with those scenes is that the music changes with each one of those scenes. The music is never consistent throughout the film.
The music bothered me, and I hate to say it, but it took me so far out of the film, and I couldn't get there with the music. It wasn't the right type of music for, it was like heavy metal.
There's some times where I thought it worked, but I would say half the time it didn't work, half the time it did work.
Right.
So for instance, some of the scenes you're talking about is when Steve Carell is driving through the city and there's this heavy metal punk music playing as he's searching for him, which that actually did work for me in that particular scene.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea when that stuff happens.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
And the music is supposed to represent the character's inner monologue, essentially.
Right.
So the music is an extension of how the character is feeling on the inside. And because the emotions are so far ranging and they're so vast with each scene, that anytime I settle into one emotion feeling that way, we have now moved on to another emotion, and I'm not following from one emotion to another. And it's keeping me from being completely invested into the film.
Okay, so this movie is based on 2 books, 2 memoirs, and the first half of the movie is heavily based on the father trying to help his son and trying to navigate what drives his son to this addiction. The second half of the film really portrays the son and his drug addiction. Now, that being said, one of the things that I had an issue with was that you never really understood how his son got to his drug addiction. I really wanted to know, throughout the entire film, I really wanted to know how he got to this point.
So there's cause and effect. What this film is, we have the effect, we don't know what the cause is.
Right.
The film, when you find out that Nick is addicted to drugs, he's just addicted to everything, and you never know why he was addicted to everything. So the journey, it's harder to jump on that journey and to understand and to empathize with that journey.
You didn't get that sense of, you knew he was getting lost in drugs, but you couldn't see it happening.
That's a good point. It comes similar to the beginning where you don't see him getting addicted for the first time. We're told. And one of the cardinal sins of films is don't tell us, show us. And we're never really shown Nick's his path to get addicted.
Honestly, I would have to say, I didn't get the enough story of Nick to really get sucked into the film.
Okay.
I needed to hear more from Nick's perspective and from Nick's angle and what he was going through to get invested in the film.
I agree with you. I actually think this would be a good, if you could adapt this into a mini-series. I think something like a mini-series would serve this story a lot better because it chronicles a large portion of time. And in a 2-hour film, there's just not enough time to truly understand everything that happens. And part of the reason why we don't understand is because we're just not shown everything.
Right.
So I think if you had the time to show everything, the investment from the audience and from our perspective would be far greater.
I agree, and I think that's what I was trying to say. You just
No,
said
that's exactly what you were trying to say. So that was our, not a review, but a discussion of A Beautiful Boy. What did you guys think? Did you see it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Comment below. Let us know. Like we said before, we like to engage with our audience. If you guys comment, we will comment back. We would love to talk to you. So we hope you stick around. We got more coming. We are also we got mid-90s we're doing next. And then we also have
The Haunting on Hill House.
That's it. The Haunting on Hill House from Netflix. We watched that series. I'm not going to give anything away about what we felt of it, but that is also coming. So
Join us.
So like and subscribe. We have more coming. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching, everyone.